when I was growing up, I told my mom I was going to be a famous country singer or an artist. And so I didn't hit Dolly Parton status, but every once in a while in karaoke, I'll throw something out. And every year for Jessica, when we have our anniversary, I guess the last 3, 4, or 5, I've been doing a song for her. Sometimes there's videos. There's some weird shit out there.
Hey, welcome back to the Stories on Tape podcast. I'm your host, Josh Robinson, and today's storyteller, truly one of my favorite people on this planet. She is 1, an incredible artist, 2, an incredible community builder and community member, 3, some might say psychic. We'll get into that in just a second. But most importantly, someone I am so grateful I get to call friend. It's the one and only Jennifer Edge. Hi, Jennifer. How are you today?
I am so good. I'm excited to spend some time with you. It's been too long since
Agreed.
We've seen each other face to face, so at least we'll get to kind of hang out today.
Absolutely. So before we get into all of the fun stories that we have, do you have a story that you can share with us that might tell us a little bit about who Jennifer is if we have never met you before?
I have plenty of stories. The one that kind of popped in my brain when we started talking about this is how I met my wife. I've had a lot of different interviews, and we always talk about the tattooing. And I think that is definitely a very interesting part of my life. But the most interesting is my wife and how we got together. And it's probably going to take like 5 minutes, y'all. I'm so sorry.
Let's do it.
So when we first met, I'd been tattooing maybe 6, 8, 9 months, maybe a year. And a friend of mine was dating one of Jessica's best friends. And so they came in and we met, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. We were actually at karaoke the first time we met. And I was waiting on a date, and someone that she knew was coming there. So it was like a kind of ships sailing in the night. And then a month later, 2 months later, maybe, she came to that same friend's house, and it was on her birthday, and a friend of hers had an appendicitis. So she spent all day in the hospital with the friend on her birthday because nobody could be with her. Yeah, I know. If you ever meet Jessica, and Josh knows, she is an insanely excellent human being. So she gave that up, and we were sitting there doodling and talking and stuff. And somebody said, somebody asked her where she worked at again. And I said, wait a minute, where do you work at? And I looked up, and I got this face that I now know what this face is because I've been with her for so long. And she looked at me and she goes, McKay. And I went, oh. And I go back to drawing. And in that moment, I realized that I've had a crush on this girl for like 8 years. I've never talked to her, but every time I saw her, I was like, oh my gosh, she is so pretty. So after that, she had asked if I could do a touch-up on a tattoo. We hung out that day. I told the friend that was best friends with her, I was like, that's the kind of girl that I would stop my life for. Now, I eat my words at saying this because I did end up marrying this lady. But the friend was like, I don't know if you're ready for all that. It gets a little better. So we had been dating for a hot minute. And she had asked if I'd ever had, those kind of feelings for like somebody else. And I was like, well, there was this one time there was this girl at the shoe store, and I was painting murals at this tanning salon. I said, and she was really wild. A couple months after that, Jessica's going through her stuff, and she goes, let me show you a photo of my sorority house. And she pulls it up, and I look at her immediately, and I said, what shoe store did you say you worked at? Same one. So same girl, just different hairstyle, not knowing. And we got one more thing. I mean, there's actually 1,000, but one more that stands out a whole lot. We were house sitting for a friend, and another friend of mine came over, and she goes, Jennifer, your phone needs to end in 3343. Jessica and I looked at each other, and we looked at her, and I said, why? And she goes, because it spells out edge. The last 4 digits of Jessica's phone number are 3343. I was like, it was just leading you to me, girl. It's just leading you to me. If any of y'all have met me, Jessica and I've been together in January, it'll be 16 years. And one of the wildest decisions, one of the most craziest relationships I've ever had. I was very drawn to her before I even got to meet her. And everything within me when I met Jessica, even though she was not ready for marriage, I was like, kids, picket fence, dogs, cat, dog, yard. I've learned so much from my person, and I've had the biggest cheerleader in my person. And when she ends up watching this, because she has no idea that today I was going to tell the story about us. But I was like, to her, everything that allowed me to do what I'm doing now was because of her telling me, run for it.
Yes, that is the perfect story. I one love you both very, very much. Um,
Same.
and like you said, she is the kind of person that will drop everything to sit with you when you have pancreatitis in the hospital. Um, did she when she asked for the touch up on the tattoo, was that like also a date, or was that truly just like oh, I need someone and you can do it?
It was, we kind of met, and that's awesome. We didn't really, it took a minute. Like, it took a minute. She had actually gone through some heartbreak. And my best friend was literally like, "You're going to have to wait for this one, but I am in her court. This is somebody who I think would be great for you." And I sat on it for a long time. I mean, there was a whole level of like, I've never felt so drawn. I know you're going to talk about people later on and what that is. To answer that, I really don't know, but at the same time, I just sometimes I feel connected to people. And to me, there's also the level of like, you see these things and you think they're coincidence, but at the same time, how could they be? It's the same way we met Birdie. We had 5 people who told us about this dog, who 3 people told Jessica, 2 people told me, and then I saw her on Facebook. And I'm like, how in the heck can you not listen to the universe saying this is it? So no, not in any way. Everything that I thought made me cool as a tattoo artist, as a person, she could give two about. So, I know she loves me for real, for me.
Absolutely. And anytime I get to spend time with the two of you, it radiates in such a special way. I have taken a lot of lessons from watching and being around you two over the last few years, and trying to implement them in my relationship, my marriage as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, can I ask, do you remember? I'm gonna pull on your memories. Um, Being gay. When was the first time that you were like? I might like the ladies a little more than the men.
When I was in my 10th grade year in high school, I had a lady who was also gay tell me that I was gay, and I was like, no. She ended up being my first girlfriend my first year of college.
It was, yep, that's how it usually goes. I feel like for many, many people. I can remember watching. Do you know the cartoon Johnny Bravo?
Yes.
He was one of my like, huh, this is interesting. I feel different about watching him than I do about other cartoon characters. We'll
It was the
dive into
hair.
this.
It was his
For
hair.
sure, for sure, the
Mhm.
hair. Um, so we got to know each other by the great city of Chattanooga, Tennessee,
Yes.
as many of the guests I've had on the podcast. What do you have like a first memory, or kind of when we first kind of got together?
It's funny. Yeah, I do. And it involves your husband.
Of course.
So he came in and got tattooed. I think he might have been in town visiting you.
Hmm.
And for those of you who don't know, I mean, everybody knows that you were kind of from Tennessee. You actually live very close to Jessica as well. So it's
Yes.
always wild to see these connections that are happening with that. But he came in for a tattoo, and then he told y'all to come in for the pizza spot.
Yep.
But I had already been knocking on y'all's Instagram door because when you know I saw this new show coming to town, and I was like, oh, it's got young folks, and then you being openly gay was a big thing for me. I was like, oh, the news station is letting this happen. That's such a big deal. And so I slid into y'all's DMs for a minute, and there was lots of jokes back and forth. I'm assuming I was talking to Sierra, maybe you on sometimes. But when y'all came in for the pizza spot after that, Jessica and I asked both of y'all out to dinner. And that night too was also because we didn't know each other, and here we go to dinner. It's like, is this going to be awkward? I don't know. And it wasn't. It
Nope.
was crazy. And in that moment too, I realized that you and I were going to be like pretty good friends.
Yep. Agreed 100%. Yeah. We did this thing called Pizza Break, and anyone could nominate local small businesses to win like a little pizza party for them and their staff. And so Travis nominated, and we were like, yeah, let's do it. And I think we delivered the pizza, and then I think we spent like 45 minutes
Yeah,
just in the tattoo parlors chatting with you. Um, and I'm so thankful that that happened. Um,
same.
do, do you remember, was that the night that I spilled the margarita on my loafers?
Yes.
Hmm.
We went to
And
Public House,
mhm.
and that happened, and I can't even remember. It was just a jazz night. Like, the conversation was rolling with all 4 of us, and then at times, you have these 2 people talking, and then the diagonals would happen.
Mhm.
It was just wild because I was like, these are our people, and they're new to town, so we need to let them know where all the places are cool to go.
And Jennifer has a list of the coolest places to go. So how did you end up in Chattanooga? What
Born and raised.
born? Oh, okay. I don't think I knew that.
Really? Yeah. Born and raised.
Okay.
Grew up in the thriving metropolis of what is now East Brainerd. Lived in almost every city. We're a bowl and everything's kind of connected. So lived in almost every city and always came back to like Highway 58 Harrison area. So that's been kind of my favorite. But anywhere in Chattanooga, you can get anywhere in Chattanooga within 20 minutes. It's just like a zippity doo dah. So.
Very true. And what has kept you there?
So that's, it's funny because when I was growing up, I always thought I'm going to leave this town. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to do this. I absolutely 100% fell in love with my city. Fell in love with the people. Started tattooing later in life. I was like late 31, early 32. Also met Jessica that same year. I met her in '09. And I just love it here. It's different, and they've got stickers. Chattanooga's weird, and it is. It's an accepting city, and in a very wild, wild west of things that we won't get into. But I feel like it's wonderful here. And
Mhm.
right now I saw something yesterday. Chattanooga is the 11th city to move to in 2025, and I'm like, it is amazing. It is an amazing place.
I feel the same way. I think that will be a place I can always call home.
Hmm.
It was a very special, I think I've mentioned it before, but it was the first place I lived where I was open from the very beginning. I was out from the
Yeah.
very beginning. And I think that was a big turning point for me. And then a lot of chosen family was made in Chattanooga, you and Jessica obviously being a big, big part of that.
Hmm.
Um, I think many memories. But I want to tell this one now. It's on my brain. Do you remember it was two Christmases ago? And it was the first Christmas that Travis was going to spend with my family. And you guys had like some gifts for us. So we came over. Do you
Yeah,
remember this afternoon?
I do very vividly. I've got a memory for days, Josh, so you're screwed. It was one of those moments where I knew that you were sharing a lot with your family. And that day was really wild to be a part of that conversation and to see the outcome of it and how happy you and your heart and your soul was. Because I know that, talking about coming out, it's a very scary time. This is a fun story I probably never told. I hadn't really come out to my family, though I'm sure everyone knew after a certain amount of time of only bringing the females by.
Mhm.
But Jessica and I, we eloped to get married in at Folly Beach by Elvis on the beach in front of the lighthouse in Charleston, South Carolina. And I'd made a post about it, and I was like, "So this happened," and then I realized, oh my gosh, people in my family are on Facebook, and once again, not caring, but I knew that my dad would see this, and so I called him and I was like, "Hey, I just need to let you know I'm making an announcement, and I'm sure you probably know, but." I am gay, and Jessica and I got married this past weekend, and there was silence. And I had this oh shit moment. And in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh. And he goes, well, I love you no matter what. And I
Oh,
was like, one of the best dad moments ever. It's one of my favorite stories about him because I was just kind of like, I didn't know what to expect. And, I dashed away from my family and started working all the time in my 20s as children do. And when you also don't know how to handle these emotions. And I never thought we'd be able to come out, because there's
mm,
so many pieces of that. And, with all this stuff that's also happening, there's still fear, associated with that, where it's like, am I going back in the closet a little bit here? Or am I still moving forward and trying to do the best I can as who I am? Because I feel like that's our lot here, or at least mine. I feel like there's things that I've got to get done, and I want to be able to be a part of some. I want to be something that brings more to life, and that whole leaving it better than
mhm.
what you found it. It's important to my core. It's important to my soul, and I think it's gotten bigger as I've grown older and have a better understanding of what that is. Like being a steward to people, not expecting anything in return, but just trying to brighten someone's day. It's such a huge piece, and like really listening when they ask you a question or when they're talking. Like put your phone away, look at them, and really listen. And I still have trouble with that. Like I fail every day, but I also get back up and try harder the next day.
Mhm. And you are so good at that. I need you to, and I know you know, but anytime I'm around, anytime I know I get to spend time with you, I know I'm going to feel safe and feel loved and welcomed and supported. Um, I'm so thankful there are people like you in this world because it makes it better. It makes it easier for people to know who they are and express themselves. And you create spaces for that too, which I think is so special and very needed. Um, let's let's just talk a little bit. Tattooing, a big part of your life. You own a tattoo
Yes.
studio. What are your kind of core beliefs, core values when it comes to mainline and everything that you guys do in the Chattanooga community?
Do unto others as others would have you do unto them. And just, my grandmother raised me with manners and being aware of folks. I mean, we're hurting people. I want everybody who's coming in to have a good time, to feel safe in the chair. It may be painful, but you're going to walk out of there with something you're happy with. It's important to me just to make that customer, that client feel like a million bucks when they come in and when they leave, well, I got emailed and I was talking to Katie, and then I got in there with Jennifer, and I got that Nightmare Before Christmas piece I wanted, and just that to me is, I mean, I get to do what I was doing in kindergarten for a living, and I've said this 100,000 times, and I will keep saying it till the day I croak. I get to color for a living. It does not get better than that in my eyes. And we get to talk to people, and talking about stories, there are so many times that this tattoo means something because of a family member or because they just wanted to get it because, watching that movie made them so happy.
Mm,
And then 10 years later, you're still tattooing on them and you see that they have kids they're about to drive. And just, it's so wild to follow along these stories since, I've been tattooing, it'll be 17 years in January. And I've told many people before, I tattooed somebody from high school and then I tattooed her kid. I mean, it's just a big vegetable soup bowl of all the fun stories.
mhm. Absolutely. I've gotten two tattoos from one from you, one from Brittany. And it's just such a special, it's a special place there in Chattanooga. And I love
Mm-hmm.
anytime I get to go and sit. I've gone in just to hang out, to get tattoos, to drop off things, and it's always welcoming and fun. And everyone says hi. And
Mm-hmm.
on Shannon Stewart's episode, she talked about how her daughter walked in and everyone was just so excited to see her. It's a really, really special place. Another really special thing you've created is Literary Ink, which is
Yes.
a tattoo convention that's been happening in
Mm-hmm.
Chattanooga for several years. I got to be there. I believe my first year was year three
It was the first year we came back after
after,
after the break after 2020. So yes, it was year three.
and it
And then we pulled you into working it last year and into the future show, so I get to see you. Like that's all it's about.
absolutely,
We're gonna offer you a job so that you come back down so we can see you for a while.
and I'm there anytime and every time. I remember walking in the first time, and the only feeling I could compare it to is when I remember walking into Disney for the first time. It was magical. Everyone was happy. There was this just joy and positive energy. How did this idea come to you, and what has kept you doing it year after year?
First off, what an excellent comment to be compared with Disney. We're winning. Um, uh, what started it? I think in my brain, we had been open, I guess, for 5 or 6 years. And for some reason, I'm like, so we're supposed to do a convention next? Like, literally, that was what kind of is that the next step of things, which is really weird looking back on it now. I'm like, what were you thinking? That was crazy. What did we have a book themed tattoo convention is what I
Mhm.
tell folks. So we actually dress everything up, and I'm a reader. I do a lot more audible these days to save my eyes for tattooing, but I love stories. I know you do too, and so that's kind of how that came about. Another thing was I themed it because there was a particular tattoo artist I wanted to get tattooed by, and I'd had a hard time getting on a plane.
Mhm.
And so I was like, if we do this, he's going to have to come. And he ended up coming, which was great. But I actually got on a plane right before that because there was a conference talking about tattooing and learning tattooing. And I went on it. So I went on the plane to see him. And that's when he said, everybody keeps telling me about this show and I should come. And I was like, you should come to this show. And after that weekend, he was locked in. So that's kind of what started that. But what makes me keep going. The first couple of years, I had a lot of tattoo artists that were just like, you don't know what you got. You just don't know what you got. I'm sitting here going, you're probably right. I mean, it's so crazy. First off, I tell everybody we're 80% female. We have a lot of trans and non-binary folks who come to the convention. And I think that's a big thing. You know, I want everybody to feel welcome, whether you're in the shop or you're at the convention or anything that we're doing. And that means everybody. Like, you know, we all want to feel loved. We all want to feel like we have a place. And I think that we need to do that more. We need to make those spaces. And so after a little bit, and what you got to see, and when you came to the first show in 2023, I think 23, 24,
Yeah.
It was 3 years of me stressing. Oh my gosh, has it lost the magic? Was there any magic? Am I overthinking this? Is anybody going to show up? And comparison steals your joy. And there was so much fear within my heart surrounding this for like months and months and months. And then one good therapy trip, and I just flipped like a coin. And the team that whole year were like, we've got you. We've got you. And this was a whole new team. None of them had been to the show working it. Brittany ended up at the 2019 show and said, I want to work this. And then, you know, she ended up getting a job with us. Fufi came down and found out about Mainline through Literary Inc. She's like, oh, it's a book themed tattoo convention. So that's how she found us. Seth knew about it when he ended up reaching out. So, you know, you got all these moving parts of what this show has done. And I feel like the biggest thing at the end of the day is it's just full of so much heart and acceptance. And you know, it's wild to me. And this, especially this past year, it's like every year it gets so much better. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, this past year was just so many people were like, it was just full of love. And I think, you knew that I was on a scooter. I'd had some back issues, and I'd keep telling everybody, I said, I know this sounds a little weird. Because I was in the scooter most of the weekend and walked around for the others. But after that weekend, I felt like my back was so much better. And I was just like, just having that love. And I know this sounds so wild, but it's almost like it healed me a little. And, you can't get much better than that.
No, it was, I had left Chattanooga it had been almost like 6 months, like to the day since I had left Chattanooga. So to go back, it was also an excuse just to see other people as well, but being there and being a part of that community as someone who for a long time never thought I would get tattoos. And then I think I have 4 now. But it is just, it's so welcoming, and it is so, whether you have tattoos or not, it is just a very special place to experience, a very special community to know about and be a very, very small part of. And I also have to mention, you on the final day this year gave this speech, and it was very heartfelt. And a big part of it that I kept in my brain was, you, from the minute I've known you, have been a huge, huge, huge LGBTQ plus community supporter. What's the word? Fight for that. That's not, but what? Advocate. Thank you. That's the vocab word. Where does that desire to be an advocate come from?
Everybody wants to be welcomed in a room. Nobody wants to feel like somebody's putting them down. If you're like, no more bullies, there's no need. We're all people. And if you don't get along well with somebody, don't hang out with them. Find your folks. Cause that whole story of, if you're a hero, you're going to be a villain in somebody else's story can happen if you're putting yourself in the wrong room. And I think the big thing is finding that right room and those right people, and just kind of trying to make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm. You're very good at it. And I'm very glad to have you in my corner. It's always so fun and exciting to watch you. Speaking of finding the right people, you have some crazy stories of finding the people in your life. Can you share one or two of like when you predicted and then when it came to fruition?
I don't know if I predict. You're making me sound witchy. I'll talk about Anil. He's the
Perfect.
first one after Jessica. I feel like, I really feel like my first whatever, like everything that was inside of me kept saying, wait for Jessica, But when I met Anil, so Danny and I had talked about doing an apprentice, and we actually approached someone who's in our shop now, and she said, no, there's no way I could do that. Oh my gosh, no. So then we decided we weren't going to apprentice anybody. And Axel Arzola reached out and he's like, I have a friend who's wanting a tattoo. And I said, we're not looking for anybody right now, but I'll sit down with him. Well, I met him at a Starbucks, and Jessica, we were out shopping. She's like, I said, this is not going to take more than 20 or 30 minutes. And she's like, I'll wait for you. Cool, no problem. I go in and I start talking to this kid, and like 5 minutes in, the conversation isn't, this is how you become an apprentice. The conversation in my brain was, I don't know what it is about this kid, but he's the one. And I get out to the car, and Jessica said, well, how did it go? And I'm typing in the word apprentice in my phone for his phone number because I didn't know what the heck he said his name was. It was like, I'm like, okay, cool. Because Anil's from Cuba. His accent was very thick when we first met. And I made a joke, which I always do. And I even told Danny, I was like, I'm sorry I make this joke, but it's kind of funny. Danny Siviter was my old business partner at the beginning of Mainline. And I said, he's the one. He's the apprentice. We just got to make sure Danny thinks it's his idea. And Anil has come on. He's been with me for 9.5 years.
Wow.
Let's see who found. There's always some kind of wild story behind it. Brittany came to Literary Inc. in 2019. She applied for the 2020 show. And I remember like recognizing her name and her tattooing. And I told Katie, I said, put her in the maybe pile. Her composition is on point. It's just like her tattooing just needed just a little bit more fire underneath it. And so when she didn't get 2020, she told her husband, she said, I'm going to get better. I'm going to work this show. Because they came in 2019. They both got tattooed. They hung out. I remember seeing Tyler because of his shirt. Brittany had designed a shirt for him, and it stood out so much in my brain. And so when I ended up seeing them later, because there's also a photo in our Rolodex from that year of him walking in this shirt, I was like, I remember your husband. And she goes, yeah, I made him that shirt. I was like, of course you did. But we ended up looking for somebody. We knew we had the room, and she ended up reaching out, and I remembered her name, and then I pulled everything back up, and I was like, oh, this is that chick who almost like, made it but didn't, because she got accepted into 2023. And then she applied, came down to the shop, and we hung out for a weekend. And I told the group, because I was also dealing with back issues then, I told the group, I'm like, I'm not here, so y'all let me know how it goes. We played D&D the Saturday night with her and her husband, and it was almost like they had always been here. And then one of my favorite stories to tell is on Monday. She's getting ready to leave, and I said, well, hey, how'd you like everything? She's like, it's really good, but I've got to talk to my husband, and there's going to be so much changing if we did this. And I was sitting there thinking, are you kidding right now? I thought you applied for this job. I'm trying to give you this job. We went to lunch, and Katie messages me, and she goes, has she said yes yet? And I said, no, but I'll have a yes by the end of the week. Well, then the next morning at like 6:30 in the morning, we're ready to move to Chattanooga. And so I said, when are you wanting to move? Now, this is before March 2023's Literary Inc. And she's like, I think we can move in March. I was like, January? And she goes, okay, maybe February. And I said, January? And she said, well, I haven't really booked anybody past the 31st of December. And I was like, so January? And she moved up January 1st and has been doing literaryinc.com, like all of our .coms, all of our design work. When Danny originally left, like he's the guy who did all the graphic design, and we had this certain flow. And when he left, I was working with different folks, and I didn't know about this part of her. I didn't know that she had a full on graphic design. So when she got there, I was like, I'm going to abuse you for your talent, but I promise to pay you for it. And it was amazing to get somebody who saw what I was thinking, or, hey, here's this idea, and made it even better. And Seth, talking about another story. So this one's funny too. Oh my gosh. So it's like the middle of summer, and he sends out this message to me, and he's like, hey, I'm thinking about moving to Chattanooga. I'm thinking about opening up a shop. Can I come and talk to you and ask you some questions? I said, yeah, no problem. We talked a little bit more. Well, then it was a Monday, and Gracie came up to me, and she goes, hey, I've met this guy. I'm in love. I'm going to move to New York. They have since gotten married. And I was like, oh, I'm so sad, but I get it. I totally understand. And the next day, Seth messages me. He's like, hey, I don't have a desire to open a shop up anymore. Are you hiring? Well, Seth, we weren't yesterday, but we are today. And such a good one. And he said, hey, we're coming down to visit, because we kind of got all that trickling through. And he's like, I'm going to go meet with the people for my kids' school. If my wife and kid can't come to this meeting, I'm not going to be able to meet with you. We can FaceTime or something. And in that moment, he was hired for this fella to be like, if my wife and kid can't come to our lunch where I get to meet you, I'm not going to be able to meet you. And I was sitting there going, if you care about your family that much, you've got to care about your clients that much. And so, but they all have those stories. Like, it's insane to me to see the drawing. And he says it all the time. He's like, it's just drawn here. You're just drawn here. And I feel very blessed. Like all of these people, Sunny, Katie, Morgan, Julia, Brittany, Seth, Anil, and the people who've kind of come through. It's always been, whether it's been a moment, an hour, or that lifetime that they say, I have been very blessed with the people that have been around me. I've learned so much from people who've come in and come out the doors. I've learned so much from people who've come in and stayed, even though they didn't know that. It's amazing to work with these folks that have such great heart and such fun stories on that. And in my weird brain, it's like, it was meant to be. It was a sign. So that's where that comes from.
Well, I think it's also a huge testament to you as a person that you are able to bring these people together and keep them and make them feel, like we said, safe and welcome and just to be who they are. One more question about tattooing.
You're good.
When you hire these people, are you looking for different skill sets with each one? Do they have a rounded education? How does that work?
It's always, well, 3 of them were apprentices. 2 of them came from a place that they had trained for a year and just it didn't quite work out. It's actually always been about the person, though. To answer your question, it's about the person. Is their work cool? Yes, awesome. How are they as a human? Oh, cool. Did you notice that? Yeah, that's great. They made sure that this was happening. We've always looked at Instagram accounts and Facebook accounts to see how they talk to their clients and how they kind of manage those things. And, a big thing for me is positive mental attitude and making sure that client feels like they're the most important person in the room at that moment, because they are. Like I said, I get to color for a living and, somebody's paying me to do that. So I want you to have a good time. If you don't want to talk, I'm putting in headphones. If you do want to talk, I'll be like, if I pause for a second, it is because I am concentrating. I will be back with you shortly. But it just kind of, yeah, it's kind of a rad thing to get to do that. So it's all about that.
Absolutely. I'm putting permanent art on your body. So give me just 1 second. I'm thinking,
Yes.
we're processing.
I'll be back with you and then I'll answer that question.
And you are also a person who has the positive mental attitude, even through some pretty hard times here recently. With you personally, can we talk a little bit about what you've kind of gone through the last couple of years when it comes to health?
We can. About 2 years ago, I'd been having these weird stomach pains and I'd gone to a couple different doctors, and I actually swapped over from the doctors that I'd been seeing to a client. And it was wild because, sometimes you also see people and you meet people and it takes 3 visits, or a year later, you're like, man, you come in a lot and you're starting to know these folks. And so Brittany had just moved to town. She's like, doctors freak me out. I said, oh, you're going to love this doctor. I tattoo her. She's amazing. Well, they started going to her and they just kept talking about how awesome she was. And I looked at Jessica and I said, why aren't we going to her? And she's like, I don't know. Do you want to move? And I was like, yeah, kind of. And so we moved on a Wednesday and I was like, you're never going to see me. I shit you not. These are the words that I used. You're never going to see me. I get ear infections. I get shots for them now. 1 week later, I messaged her and I said, hey, I've been having these stomach pains. It's happened the past year and a half. I don't know what's going on. She's like, let's send you in for a CT. Jessica's like, do you think you need it? And I said, maybe we can just kind of narrow out what is happening or what isn't happening. I go in for a CT and that lady just keeps clicking. And I said, oh, did you find anything? Joking. And she said, oh, I can't read these. And I'm sitting there going, we know you can read these, but we also know you can't say anything. So she get through that. And a couple days later, Joy calls me. She goes, hey, we're going to send you back in for an MRI. We just saw a little something. And I'm sitting here going, okay. Go back in for the MRI. This is just a few days later too. Joy was Johnny on the spot for getting this happening. And go in for it. A couple days later, she calls and I said, it's okay, Joy. I've already beaten it. Because in between the time of me going in for that second scan, something's up. And Jessica and I talked about it, and you kind of figure it's the C word. And I had a lot of people when I was younger in my family who had cancer. And so as I was growing up, I was like, if I ever get cancer, I'm going to beat it. And I know that sounds weird, but as a child, I kept saying, if I ever get cancer, I'm going to beat it. I'm going to beat it. Like there was just too many people in my family that had it. And so Joy says, well, actually, that is true because it's on your kidney and they're just going to cut that kidney out. And I was like, okay. So cancer happened and she literally got me set up with a cancer doctor. A couple weeks later, I get to go see him. It is the Friday before Maine by 24. And he said, hey, do you know why you're here? I said, yes. My doctor basically said I have cancer, though she couldn't tell me I have cancer because she's not a cancer doctor. And he goes, well, you do. And I've got you set up for Monday morning at 5 a.m. because we can't wait. So from Friday until Monday morning, I mean, it happened in under like 35 days. So talking about a very short amount of time, like even in the beginning, I don't think I realized, hey, I'm a cancer survivor, which today is December. It's over 2 years, Josh. It's over 2 years because we just had Maine by 24.
Congratulations.
Yes. So good stuff. I still going for checkups, but that happened. And then this particular year, Dare to Dance, got asked to do Dare to Dance, was very excited. I got asked, I was told the night that you did Dare to Dance, that they'd been looking at me and I was like, no, I don't have rhythm. Oh, it doesn't matter. No, ma'am, it does. It matters. It matters that I don't have rhythm. But they paired me up with Kenny, who is a phenomenal fella, and we decided to do Rocky Horror Picture Show. And then I tried to do some lifts, and those lifts kind of led to 3 bulging discs. One's herniated and one has a hole in it. And I was like, what the heck has happened? Still did Dare to Dance. Rocky Horror, as y'all know, has a wheelchair in it, and we use that to the fullest of our abilities, and kind of on a health journey right now. So drinking myself water and watering myself with sunshine. So I'm like a plant, walking and watering myself, just like a plant.
I remember hearing about the cancer diagnosis and being a little scared, but you weren't worried. So that I think made all of us a little put us all at ease. But you also have become someone that shares a lot on social media, just in general about your life, about Literary Inc., about Mainline. What makes you want to do that? Put stuff out there like that?
When I found out about the cancer diagnosis, I knew Katie was going to have to rebook a lot of people. And, you know, the year before I'd missed out on December because of my back. I've had lots of issues with my back. And so when I finally had that, like now I'm on a righteous discovery of how can I make my back stronger without having surgery. But when I knew about the cancer diagnosis, number one, if it was going to be a bigger fight than what I thought I was going into, I did want to share. Because I think sometimes we get really scared and we don't see people who are like, I've got this. And even when I made this story, because I posted this story and Jessica's like, are you ready for that? Are you sure you want to do that? And I was like, yeah, number one, if this is a bigger deal, then I'm going to share it. I'm going to be like, we've got this. We're going to beat this. We've got this. And I just kept in my head beating it like a dead horse. Like this is not going to take me out right now. I have too much I have to do and it's not allowed. And finding out like with kidney cancer, they literally, this is so cool. Okay. This is the only doctor stuff that I know. So, you know, you got kidney. It's like a little shape like this. Okay, cool. They go in and they cut the cancer out. So it's almost like it looks like Pac-Man. So it's a circle with that wedge in. They put your kidney back together. And the way that your kidney is, it's like all these little straws in there. So when they take the Pac-Man and they put it back together, all of the straws touch all the straws and they reform your kidney. Our human body is insane. So that is how that worked out, which is wild because we didn't know how much we were going to be taking of the kidney and we're back to normal function for everything. But to me, I'm just like, that's mind blowing that your body understands this and it can so heal itself if you let it. And at the end of the day, those stomach pains, I'm not supposed to eat as much red meat as I was. I've gotten older. So that's what kind of got me into the doctor's house. And then the discovery of that was just nuts.
Absolutely. Well, glad that things are on the up. How are you kind of feeling now? What is 2026 going to look like for you?
You know, with the way 2025 was, anything's going to be better. At the same time, I've been off. I'm back at work now, but I was off for about 4 months, 4.5, 5 months. It was a weird time. I decided to say in my brain that I would be healed after I went back through all of the Game of Thrones seasons. I wasn't, but I was closer. to doing that because I just laid at home and just, the first 2 weeks I was laid up and just
Mhm.
the drugs that they had me on, I just slept. And I had a lot of starting thinking, what does it look like if I'm not tattooing? Is this going to be okay? What does my life look like when it is time for me to not tattoo? And when do I get to go back to work? So I think that there was a lot of self reflection in 2025. And to me, 2026 is I want to listen better
Mhm.
because I know sometimes I am a talker and I just go on for days. But I want to tune in better to somebody who's saying something to me. If it's like whatever that is they want to share, I want to be tuned in with them in that moment.
Mhm. I love that. I love that. And then something else, and tell me if we need to cut this. You have a singing voice, friend.
I do
And I
sing a
don't,
little.
I don't know if many people know this about you. When did you
Jessica and I, when
just,
we first met, it was karaoke every Tuesday night at the Big Chill.
yes. So when did you discover that you could carry a tune?
Oh, childhood. I'm a ham. I am a ham. I sang in church a lot,
Mhm.
did different things. I would have loved to have been in a band, but like, it's really weird because like my singing, there's like, I know what I can sing and I know what I can't. We all have that range and stuff. And
Uh-huh.
so when I was growing up, I told my mom I was going to be a famous country singer or an artist. And so I didn't hit Dolly Parton status, but every once in a while in karaoke, I'll throw something out. And every year for Jessica, when we have our anniversary, I guess the last 3, 4, or 5, I've been doing a song for her. Sometimes there's videos. There's some weird shit out there. I did do "Addicted to Love," and Foofy's in it, and Amber Foltz is in it, and we look like the
Yes.
video from the '80s. It's nuts.
I love that. When I found this out about you, I was like, oh, she's a Renaissance woman. What can't Jennifer Edge do? What's a go-to karaoke song? What are we gonna hear?
Rihanna's "Russian Roulette," "No Doubt," "I'm Just a Girl," and some Sheryl Crow. Oh,
Yes.
Alanis Morissette.
Of course, of course. And speaking of, we in like my last like year and a half became Broadway buddies, and we
Yes.
were seeing the touring shows coming through. We got to see Jagged Little Pill, the Alanis Morissette show. Were you a theater person before we started doing that?
So in high school, I was not to the degree to some of the folks that I work with, but like we did Man of La Mancha. Um,
Yeah.
there's a fun story behind that. One day I'll tell you. But a lot of different plays in high school. I thought about doing something here, and then I ended up doing Dare to Dance, and I was like, well, that taught me. I'll just hurt myself if I do something. That taught me. No, just kidding. But I mean, we all play characters, and I love doing it in high school. Like I said, I wasn't like somebody who was front stage show. I did have my moments, but I enjoy watching them. I saw Les Mis my senior year,
Mm.
and I was there by myself. I ended up getting dropped off, and I was like, that is amazing. And it was here at the Tivoli. And now, I mean, we've got the whole run again. So seeing other people around me get back into it and then you doing yours, and we got to see both of your plays here. That was another thing where I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening in town? And Jessica had never done any either. So
Mm.
getting to have that together has been wonderful. Like
Mhm.
being able to go and enjoy theater together, and now we're Sunday matinee. So we're doing like, lunch beforehand, hanging out with some friends and enjoying theater, and then having the rest of Sunday off.
Yeah, I was so happy when we figured that out. It was always something I looked forward to, like every other month, every month. It was just a fun time,
Yep.
and I'm really glad that you have kept up with it. I think it's really important to support theater, no matter if it's local, like you said, or the national tours that are coming through. It's they are just telling cool stories, and it's very very similar to a lot of the shows happening on Broadway. The caliber that they're happening. Now, who is one person that you are hoping to see on stage?
Ooh. Oh man, that's like such a good question. We just saw Clue last week and it was awesome. I don't know
Hmm.
if you've seen it or not, but it was awesome. But no, I do have an answer. I want to see Daniel Radcliffe on stage. And I know that Jessica and I are going to make time to come see you for like a week. And so
Perfect.
Squad Goals is like 2 or 3 shows. Like, I
Beautiful.
think that if we're going to come up there, it's going to be like, we're about to really do this shit up. So I can't wait, and food too. But to me, I mean, it could be anybody. I take joy out of anything that we get to see. And this year's wild. I can't wait for Mrs. Doubtfire. That's one I think that's going to
Yeah.
be so much fun. And then one thing, kind of going back, there was one show where I was like, I don't want to see that. And you're like, no, it's not what you think it is. And I was like, oh, okay. And it ended up being one of my favorites. It was the show about 9/11. The
Oh, Come
name.
From Away.
Yes. So when I first heard it, I was like, that sounds depressing. I don't know if I want to go to that. And you were like, wait, just come to this one. And we did. And both Jessica and I left with like, how amazing was that? And to know these stories were true and somebody put that together, because all of us were living in that moment when 9/11 happened. I remember exactly where I was. Most people do. I was
Mhm.
I was working at the Chattanooga Times Free Press, and all of this stuff happened. They pulled out TVs. They locked the building down. Nobody knew what was going on. And you're just sitting here in this moment of fear and realization that that was on purpose. And it just, you could just, it just was such a broken moment. And so then that's why I didn't want to experience it again. And then when we went and saw this, to see how these people came together, and there was so much love in this town, they took care of everyone. And this really happened. And to me, those are those moments that we look for in life, or at least to be able to be a part of or get to experience, whether we know we're looking for it or not. Once again, feeling like you're part of that room.
Mhm. It's a really, really special show. There's even a pro shot of the original Broadway cast on Apple TV. If you haven't seen it before,
Oh,
but you've got it,
wow. Okay.
you can watch it again and again. And that music is some that I can listen to over and over again. So it is a really special. So I'm glad that you've continued our little theater tradition. I love it
I
so
have.
much.
It's been wild because we know Josh loves theater.
We do.
And it's exciting to, not that you're not there, but it's like funny because every time we go, we have people who know us and they'll say something, they'll ask where you're at. And I'm like, well, y'all know he moved. And so it's that piece of, that. And when you did leave, like, for those of you, like, I really miss Josh. I really miss you. Cause it was one of those things where you don't, when you're older, it's harder to make those friendships, that you're kind of like, I feel like I've known you for a lifetime.
Mhm.
And you kind of came in and did that. And, I mean, there was the night you stayed with us and we watched, Saltburn and the Talented Mr. Ripley. Cause I was like, this is this movie from a long time ago. And just the Chili's nights, like Jessica's even like, this one's going to be a hard one. And I'm like, no kidding. But we also knew that we'd be back, you'd be back, and that Jessica and I would come up there. Like, there's certain relationships that, it may be, we haven't talked for 4 months, but here we are kind of just, whoop, we got caught up in 30 minutes. Let's go have some, chicken strips, and we're good.
Yes, you two are definitely those kinds of people in my life where I know no matter how long it's been, it's going to be fun and easy, and we will catch
Yeah.
up and we can talk for hours. Um, oh, you have a passion for like TV and film as well. Yes. Where does that come from?
Watching movies that I shouldn't have watched as a 12 and 13-year-old. So my grandmother, it was like when videos were just happening, and my dad got my nanny a VCR. Within 2 months, it was in my bedroom. And before Blockbuster, there were like, individual video shops that were opening up, and there just happened to be one within bicycling distance. And Nanny went down there to sign me up, and I saw where it said, person can rent R-rated movies without permission. And I X'd that out. And I was like, here, Nanny, sign this, with my finger over that, and slid it right back to the lady. And some of the things that I watched as a child, I shouldn't have been watching, but at the same time, it was great education. I went through that video store. I love telling stories. I love seeing stories. I love reading books. So take me out of this world. Take me away for 2 hours and show me something I've never seen or haven't imagined. Make me imagine it. Let me experience where we're at. And theater and movies and books do that. And I think too, in the crazy times that we live in, books and movies can take a moment for you to be like, okay, I got a break, and now I'm back at it.
Yes. Have you seen anything recently that you're kind of like jazzed about?
What did we go see? We went and saw Now You See Me, Now You Don't yesterday, and it was really good. I love
Okay.
that movie thing. I feel like we saw something else a couple weeks ago, and I was really shocked at how good it was. But I can't remember right now what that was.
Have you seen Wicked Part 2?
Yes. Yes, we went and saw that. It was the Sunday after it came out. We were supposed to go hang out with Fufi the Monday night before.
Sure.
But Jessica's parents came to town, and I was like, it's all good. we can go see this on Sunday. And it was excellent. I mean, what a way to close out something. I would love to see her.
Right.
I would love to see her sing, Cynthia.
Ugh.
I feel like that woman has a level of, I mean, it's kind of like, Julie Andrews. She sings, she acts.
Mm.
It's all these different pieces of just rawness.
Mm-hmm.
She is living her dream. I'm living my tattoo dreams. Like, I feel like all of us have this superpower within us, and we've just got to tap into it. We've got to believe in ourselves. We got to believe in what we can do. And that's the whole thing. Once you do that, once you like, I can do this and I believe in myself. And don't look at, I didn't do that. I failed. You didn't fail. You learned how not to do it. Do it some way different. Get that next thing. If you can't go over the wall, through the wall, around the wall, dig under the wall. Like, there is a way to get around this, and just believe in yourself. Like, when we're kids, we're told we can do anything. And somewhere along the way, I feel like we stop believing that. Don't stop believing it. You can do anything. And it may not exactly be the way that you planned it, because I used to think I wanted to be on Ink Master and all this stuff. And as I got older, I was just like, I really am just happy tattooing every day at Mainline Tattoo and hanging out with my friends and that. I'm really just happy doing that. And so once again, just keep at it. You'll get there.
This is why I love you. You pull these little nuggets of just like great advice, but like, and I've heard that 1,000 different ways, but that just hits home right now for me for some reason. And it's so good to hear. I have told you that Daniel Radcliffe is coming back to Broadway. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm still having issues flying right now.
Sure. Sure.
Like, there's so much going on. I saw all those things about the flights and I'm scared again. But I know I will. So
Okay.
it will happen. I know I will. I think it's awesome that he went from being, in all the wizardry movies to this guy who literally does the things that make him happy. Like, he doesn't have to worry about money.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing this theater, and I'm like, you're breaking down the bare bones. And I've heard a little bit about the play he's about to do, and what a hard play, to kind of come into and to push through. And I think, a lot of the kids from those movies are just doing all these amazing, epic things in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the females that were in that movie are also doing these big swings at, whether it's selling wine or being an advocate over here. It's like they're all kind of just making the world a little better.
Absolutely. Also, I don't know if it's playing everywhere, but they did a pro shot of Merrily We Roll Along that he was in.
Yes.
And that's now in theaters.
Yep. Jessica already told me yesterday. So we're supposed to go see that soon.
That's on my list. I saw Wicked Part 2. Are you an animated movie person?
Depends.
Zootopia.
We're supposed to be going to see that soon. Jessica, I remember seeing part 1. Brittany went and saw it. She goes, y'all are going to love it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we're supposed to be going with Tyler to see Rented Family.
Yes, with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Yes, that looks very interesting as well. Okay, good. I'm glad we're on the same. If I'm on the same page with you, then I know I've got some good movies lined up. So
there should be some good stuff coming out, and there's a lot of things that we're going to get to see in the next couple of years that they've been working on.
Yeah.
The new Superman movie, Be Still My Beating Heart. We know we're in a different universe, so that's cool, because straight up, Christopher Reeve is always going to be my Superman. And I don't think that Cavill did a bad job. I think that was a different universe for sure, because in my brain, Superman would never kill anybody. So I had to put that, like, it's just a different place. And then seeing this one, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. If you have, you know that it's a different verse. It's a different universe, but it's so well done. Like, I feel like this Superman is swell. And if you've watched, the very first Superman with Christopher Reeve, you're going to understand like, he saves a squirrel. I mean, there's so many things to like, this is the guy. And honestly, I wish we had more of that in life right now. I wish we had more of this particular character, like just trying to make the world a happier place.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. And listen, David, what's his name that played
Cornsweet?
I'll watch him read the phone book. I don't care. I'll watch him do anything. And then he and Jonathan Bailey are doing variety actors on actors. Yes. And I have not watched it yet, but I've seen clips and I'm like, oh, I need to get my popcorn ready for that. I need to sit and be in the moment. Let me check my notes real quick and see.
You had some good ones. I was actually, Jessica's like, she said something. I said, he can answer. I said, if he wants to ask me some deep-seated questions, I'll let him. Because, normally I always talk about tattooing and about literary. And so there's not as many oh my gosh, how are you as a real person? I am a troll and I go home and act like a hobbit. Like, I go from work to home and draw for the next day, get prepared for the next whatever the heck we're doing. Like
Mm-hmm.
this past week was Maine by 24. I've got a small hip surgery this Thursday, and then I'm out for a couple weeks, but hopefully back at January 2nd. I can't wait. So yeah.
Another thing that we've experienced, or I haven't gotten to experience with you, is your love of Survivor.
Yes, I have a deep seated love of Survivor. By the way, it's still going strong, Josh.
That
He was in it for 1 year. We have an Instagram group that is some
Mhm.
folks that are mainliners and some folks that are outside of it, but we're all watching Survivor. We all pick our folks, and now there's actually a trophy. It's a little tiki dude riding a pink flamingo, and Jessica has won the last 2 years. Jessica's won the last 2 years. So that bad boy is at my house, and I'm not ready to give it up. Even though I didn't win it,
Incredible.
it's still at my house.
It still counts, absolutely, because you guys, they announce the cast, and then you do a
It's like a football club thing. We pick our
yes.
people, and we just kind of wait and see how it shuffles out. It is
Hmm.
excellent. I love Survivor. I think it's so much fun because you've got people who played it those first couple of years when they were trying to understand what the heck's going on. Now you have all this different strategy and stuff. But to me, it is insane to watch people. And I mean, this has got to be like one of their rawest moments of life. Like, Jeff will be interviewing somebody and somebody just starts crying, and you're like, they've been out there for 25 days. They haven't seen the love of their life, their children, whatever. And they're making these decisions. And some people go in with, I'm going to be the villain. And some people go in with, I'm going to play as sweet as I can. And some people go in with, I'm going to do this. And they don't do that. Like, it is a mental wow just to watch how people react to other people. The people that you see kind of become the tribes. Then we're going to stand on this tribe. No, I'm going to blindside you. Like, to me, it's a good hour and a half of television. It's
I
awful.
it's oh it I cannot imagine any of it being a part of it. You get a cup of rice a day,
Yeah.
like the lack of sleep, the no showers, you're
The
sleeping on
bugs,
bamboo, like
the bugs.
no, the
I
bugs.
will not go on it for the sheer fact of the bugs. Like, I
Mm-mm.
would I would die.
Hmm.
I've seen them where they've gone on. They have like 45,000 bug bites. I'm like, no, I just
No.
can't do it for that reason.
Mm-mm.
But I've always thought that I'd like to go on the show. I think I would either get voted out first or maybe make it to the end. And Jessica and I joked, and she's like, I couldn't watch it because I know that you would really be on there to play, and I would. I'd be like, yeah, you'd see. There, if you're going to go on that show and you're going to give it up, like, to me, it'd be a lot of play. It's a lot of, like, manipulating your people to get the votes that you need, and it's a scary thing, and that's why I like watching it and not participating in it. But like, I could see going on and just having so much fun because it's these little conversations, and it's the little twist of the nose or the mouth when they're talking to you, and you're sitting there going, "You're going to vote me out tonight, aren't you?" No, no, no.
Well,
Your eyebrows say yes.
uh-huh. That twinkle in your eye. Well, that's the other thing too, is you just have to remember this is a game. Like,
Yes.
we're all here to win, though, however much money they're giving now. And it is like uh, that's life-changing money no matter who you are. So at the end of the day, that's why we're here.
I agree with you. I think feelings get in the very first season. Feelings seriously got brought up into it. It was down to like three people, and it
Mhm.
was like one of the worst guys ever, and a kid, and then a lady who was close to the kid, and then the kid, like, there's rats and snakes on this, and you're a rat, and he's a snake, and snakes eat rats. You win, Richard. And you're just sit there going, holy smokes. But the other part about Survivor is that you do see these people in 2 weeks, and they're in these extreme conditions, and they're very raw, and you're making and you're forging because you have to be. No one else who has not been out there gets the starvation, the
Right.
dehydration, the I am at my wit's end, I have no energy left, and now we're going to go run in 103-degree weather through this obstacle course, and I'm hoping I don't break my toes. So you're forging fastly. And if you do have those connections with people where you're just like, I'm going to know you for the rest of my life, you cannot tell me that in those 2, 3, 4 weeks that is like a year or two of knowing them. Like, because there's nothing else to talk about except for life. And I
Mhm.
always tell Jessica, I was like, if I was out there, they would be sick of you because I'd be like, this is how we met. This is what we do. I color for a living. Like, I would just be telling stories and not talking strategy at all, except with my people. So,
Mhm.
anybody who
Yes.
watches me on Survivor 20 years from now, just kidding.
Get ready. Get ready. Are there any of these like reality game show type shows you think you could go on?
Let's make a deal. I'm just
Okay.
kidding.
I was like, not where I was going, but I see it. I see it.
Oh my goodness. I got to see Wheel of Fortune once, or The Price is
Okay.
Right. They brought in The Price is Right to town, and it
Yes.
wasn't The Price is Right. It was just a version that was really cool. I'm like, I do my best not to be super competitive, but I do like to win. And, sometimes that's in my own brain of like, well, I'm going to do this and everything else. And I always talk about like, how our ego gets outweighed by wisdom, but there's still that part of me that's like, I want to win. Like, and so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if people would like me being like captain competitive all the time. And I'm like, not talking sports because I don't sport well, but
But
some
you
of
got
those
the
games, I'm like,
brain.
I could play a master game of memory with like the little, people. So.
See, Travis will tell you, and I will agree with him. I'm a sore loser. I like to win. And I do my best to hide it when I don't, but man, it is, I know I just put out this energy. It's mainly like Mario Kart and Mario Party.
I
Um,
understand.
and he did in our vows say that he will continue to let me win. And I still don't know how I feel about it, to be honest.
Was he being serious?
I don't know.
Okay. Does he win the majority of the time or do you?
Mario Kart, he does. Mario Party, I do.
Okay. Well, if he's winning
So
that other one, then he may not be letting you win, or he may be like, I'll give him this one.
see, that's what I can't figure out. I'm going to go with I'm just better.
Yeah.
But there is a
I
grand
would too.
possibility that he is just letting me win.
In 10 years, you'll know if he was kidding or not.
Right. Yes.
Marriage is wild. Relationships are wild. I remember when Jessica and I were kind of coming around to the 5 years because I never made it past 3 years with anybody. Even coming up on the 3 year with her, I was like, oh my gosh. And my best friend was like, don't worry about this. And I know you're thinking about it, but don't worry about it. Everything's okay. Don't screw this up. And then we get to 5 years. I'm like, wow, it's a lot of time. And then we hit our 10 and I was like, that's a decade. That's so much time with this one person. And we're about to go into 17 years in February and or kind of roughly. And it's still like wild to me because this person knows me better than anybody. And she still chooses to come home and take care of me. And I think that's huge. I'm very blessed with my person. But it's wild to Jessica showed me how to become family. Like, you have your family that you're born into and you get your chosen family, but like through her and going home to her place for, her where her roots are for Christmas and seeing her family and just all these different things like that bond. I get how people get married. I get how people have kids, not to whatever. It's just, it's, we all have our childhood trauma, I guess. And so in being with her, I worked through so much of that and got to a place where, I'm happy and I understand, some of the decisions that were made throughout my life that I was like, what the heck? I was raised by my grandmother and, she got me at 5 and had me till 19. And I think there were a lot of things there in the beginning where I was just like, why was I left here? And as I've gotten older, I realized I was in the perfect place for me as a human to be, like I tell people, I'm like, I kind of was her last kid. She had me for so long and I know that I was her favorite out of all of her children. And I still hold that true to my heart. Like my grandmother loved me more than I think anybody on this world could. At her funeral, her sister was there, and my grandmother had a hard life. When my dad was a year old, her and my grandfather went and got all these kids, and he had got a new car, and he filled it up. They were all supposed to be going to the pond to go swimming, and a car wreck occurred, and he got my grandmother out, and instead of stop, dropping, and rolling, she ran, and so her hands got fused. She was burned like over 60% of her body and made it. And all these other things that happened. And my aunt was just sitting there talking at her funeral. And she was just like, was at my dad's funeral? She's talking about it. She said, I just don't understand why, God just let her go through all that stuff and just kept her here. And I started crying. And I looked at her and I said, I know. And she goes, what? And I said, she was here for me. Like, she went through all of those trials and stuff and then got me and still raised me. And, manners were big. I went to the church that she went to. And in that I found a family that, I was needing. My youth director was an amazing, like it was almost like a mother figure and, feeling heard from these people and in a time that I didn't understand, how my grandmother loved me so much. In a time when I'm young and I'm like, roar, just like everybody else. And not even that I was a bad kid, but you have those moments where you want to break bad or whatever, and you just don't
Hmm.
understand. And so looking back at all the things that she went through and still raised me, and she was crazy. She was a live wire, but she also told me, you don't need anybody. You don't need anybody to do that. Come on, let's go. And at 7 o'clock, at 7 o'clock, at 7 years, 8 years old, I was putting together playpens and stuff. Like, she's like, hey, come read this and helping her out. And then she would tighten it because we didn't have anybody there. And she watched kids before daycare was a thing. She had like 15 kids during the summertime. So there was a
Oh,
playpen or a baby bed in every room of the house. And, getting to put those things together at such a young age just, clicked with my mind. And so there's your fun story. I don't know if I've ever told that one.
I love that. That I've never heard that. So thank you. Can I ask a little bit? What is your connection to like religion and spirituality?
I think we all see things, I don't think anybody who goes to the same church probably has the exact same opinions or views. And to me, it's about finding, whether you're in church or not in church, because I've gone to several churches and a lot of them don't agree with the fact that I'm gay. So with that, I feel like whatever it is that means God to you,
Hmm.
or that whether it's the great juju in the sky, whether it's I'm Baptist, whether it's this, to me at the end of the day there's something beautiful that has brought us all here and we're getting to experience it together. And that's a deep fishing hole to go down, because there's everybody's so different in how they look at religion and how they look at spirituality. And I think it's a beautiful thing when people can get together and talk about, this is how I believe, this is how I believe, and make those connections and not be upset about it, and kind of see that. But I was raised Baptist, and went to church until I was about 19 or 20. When I started coming out, there was a verse in the Bible that just really struck home. It's like, you will either be hot or cold, because if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out.
Mm.
And it was a very big, I'd been in church 24/7, Monday night visitations, choir practice on Wednesday, 2 times on Sunday. And I loved it. I mean, it was an outlet for me. I felt very safe in this place. And I went to a church that really kept me really safe. And when I came out of it, you start questioning those things. Did you go to church because this is what your parents did? Did you go and do this because of, this is your beliefs? And so several years of just thinking about a lot of that. But that's like a whole conversation.
Absolutely. Well, we are very similar in that way. And I'm sure we've talked about it, but I grew up Church of Christ. And for 22 years, 23 years, it was my safe space. It was my community. It was the singing, like you said. I knew I was going to see people every week. And I've come around to just like, I want to help people when I can.
Mhm.
I want to leave the world a little better than I found it. And if I don't have anything nice to say, I try not to say anything. Doesn't always happen. But and then I've got some of my closest friends are working in churches right now. And so it's always an interesting thing for me to just kind of hear how people relate and see that part of themselves or just that part of society.
Well, I think the biggest thing in what you just said is I want to, help people. I want to do my best not to say anything. Golden rule: do unto
Hmm.
others as you'd have them do unto you. And how Christian like is that behavior? I want to help. I want to do things. Whether it's coming from the Bible or you as a person.
Hmm.
I do believe that's what this world's about, and not expecting anything in return. Like putting that away, putting
Hmm.
that part away. Like, why are you really doing this? We ended up doing a food drive because they took away the SNAP program, and it was very scary. And you would not believe, I think we had a bucket filled up 5 or 6 times. And just coming through the shop, and I was like, I'm going to offer up a gift certificate, gift card for, put every 2 cans, going to put your name in here. And we saw so many people come in, and some people were like, oh, don't worry about it. And it to me is just that community coming together and helping out. That's church.
Hmm.
That's church.
Absolutely. Oh, I love Chattanooga for so many reasons. It just like in that community, I have never once been to Maine by 24.
Oh, you missed out, bro.
I know. And every time I see pictures, I'm like, that is a crazy 24-hour event, but in the coolest way. Um, because it just happened. Yeah. Like this past
Yep, it's
weekend or,
always the first Saturday in December, and we missed
okay.
last year because the shop was underneath the the remodeling.
That's right.
But every year that we'd been there from the beginning on, like the first year we did $24 tattoos, and Danny and I looked at each other and we were like, never again. We probably tattooed 30 people that day, and they were just small little bangers because it was $24. And this is like, 15 years ago, something like that. But we have tattooed that day, and we do different things every year. Like it's always something different. This year we did a Stranger Things Christmas and decorated and had fun, and we had swag bags to give away. This was so cool too. So I reached out to so many area businesses. Amada came through. They did wine keys. They did gift certificates to the restaurant. We had, just so many places came together. Chattanooga Whiskey did 10 whiskey tours that were free.
Yeah.
All the businesses that I work with, like Ember, Heather helps me out with my yoga. They came in and they did stuff. So it was these bags that had, and then mainline gift certificates, of course, but it was like, here's a glass, here's this, here's all these different places coming together. And I was sitting here going, these are all the people that I go to every week, or, these are businesses that I interact with. And so this year was so wild because we had like 10 to 15 different things. The Kidney Foundation had stuff in there. So it was so wild to see it all come together. And so many people were so excited and they brought stuff in. And I was like, how awesome is this? I can't wait till next year when I try harder to see what all we can put in those bags. But we got through the first 50 bags in like 4 minutes. And then we had t-shirts and glasses to give to the other people. So we ran out minus, I think we had like 8 glasses left and about 15 t-shirts. And I was like, that just happened. And to me, it's amazing. So, we saw that community, like we open up the doors after the parade so we can enjoy the parade. And then it's like, whoosh, it is crazy time.
And again, I think it's just a testament to you and the community that you've built and the people that you've connected. And I'm so, so glad to be a part of it.
Oh, definite extension of Literary Inc. and Mainline family you are. And I think I even told you when you left, you weren't allowed to go away. So.
Well, one last question I'm asking everyone. Why do you think storytelling is so important?
One of my favorite things to do is anytime my grandmother comes up in my head or gets brought up, because she's passed, I tell a crazy story about her. I think that storytelling allows you to keep loving somebody when you have all this love that you can't give. Because looking back, I had a moment with my grandmother. I got to say thank you. I got to tell her that I appreciate her raising me. Like, she didn't have to do that. And it was like I always, as a child, would say, I want my nanny. And they left me there. And it was the best gift she could have ever given me, because I wouldn't be who I am without all of that time. And I think storytelling allows you to kind of still continue that love that you can't give to somebody because they're not here. And storytelling also, if you're just talking about yourself, it gives everybody a chance to see who you are. My favorite sometimes is seeing how other people tell a story about you and how you are, in that, because we all also have, like, I'm seeing you through my lens, you're seeing me through your lens, and we could have experienced the exact same thing. That's going to be different for both of us.
Absolutely. I love that idea of a special person brought up in your life and you just tell a story about them. I think that's so cool.
It's a big one. And whether they're here or not, like it's just so much love. And Nanny had a lot of crazy stories, man. She was crazy.
Were there any other stories you wanted to share that you had thought of, or just that you've thought of since we've been chatting?
There's so many stories that I think you and I share, like the snowstorm. It was a Snowmageddon, and Josh called and was like, hey, can I come spend the night? Because y'all are so much closer to where I work than I am. And we were like, yeah. And it was so funny because Jessica and I just talked about, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And then I was like, Josh needs a place to stay. And she goes, this is going to be fun. And so I think we had dinner that night and we watched movies, and it felt like a sleepover, like when you're, still in high school or before. And so, those moments, some of the other stories that we have from being at the Tivoli, which we'll keep here, and just, me and you going to Champy's. There have been some times when we've had some really deep-seated conversations about, when you were talking about leaving, and also kind of like looking at what your life is going to look like moving forward. And I feel like both you and Sierra are on, you both left at the same time, and you're like, what are we going to do? And then the world just opened up for both of you and said, this is where you're supposed to be. And you're both doing so well. and you're both on that path. And, seeing you in New York. So I'll talk a little bit about you, seeing what you've done since you've gone and how you're embedding yourself in all these different things. And like, even when you came back for literary and you're like, you're not going to believe the job that I've got. And just, I can't wait to see where you roll out. Because one of the things you were like, I don't know if I'm going to keep going down this path or if I'm going to go down this path. And it's almost like there's not a path right now. You're just accepting everything that you want to do that's coming at you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to end up putting you in the exact spot you're supposed to be in, whether that was a thought you had, whether it's Good Morning America or whether it's, I ended up doing all of these things. Like when you look back and you're 55 and you have that moment of, was a little scary going to New York. It was a little scary to do this, but look at the life that I've lived and look at what Travis and you've done. Y'all are adventurers and being able to get out and do. And so many people just stop. They're afraid to do. Like, I'm afraid to get on an airplane now, but I'm going to do it again. Like, that is something I know I'm going to do it. And just putting yourself out there for it. It's been awesome to watch. Josh loves theater, and then the stories on tape. Like you're engaging in the thing that we talked about, that you were like, I'm thinking about doing this, and you're killing it.
Well, thank you, friend. That means a lot. One other story I remember is early on, I think it was after that first Literary Inc. People from literally from around the world come to Chattanooga, Tennessee for that weekend. And I believe some people from Italy brought pasta.
Yeah,
and you brought it over and we had dinner at my first apartment in Chattanooga. And you were like, I know you're not a big pasta person, but please try it. And it was good. I was impressed.
Jessica's the cook in our family.
Mm-hmm.
And the Italians still come over. And every time she hangs now, she comes over for one night and they cook us dinner. Sunny was here the last time. So they did pasta bolognese and they had, Laylo helped cook too. It was a level of, it was just great. I mean, food brings people together as much as stories do, or the stories will come out after you eat enough.
Yes.
But pasta, everybody should have conversations over pasta.
And speaking of being a chef, let me tell you, Jessica Wagster makes this one of a kind white chocolate
silk cream pie.
Oh.
She made it for Thanksgiving this year.
Okay.
And I thought some of the family had it. They had not. So we're eating, we're finishing up. I go to look at the pie and there's like this big of a square left. And Sandra's like, I'm going to cut some out. And I said, oh no, it's okay. You can keep it. My aunt goes over there and she halves it. And she takes the other half. And so there was no pie left, which I knew because Jessica had already made me a pecan pie at home. Mm-hmm. And so I was good to let that go. And I had a little piece there, but that stuff was devoured. And the story behind that is I am not a chocolate fan. And so I started asking Jessica for like these vanilla versions of stuff. And so I was like, that chocolate silk cream pie? I want a vanilla. And so it turned into a white chocolate silk cream pie. And it is one of the best things you have ever put in your mouth.
Agreed.
Even from her, she makes the crust. And so she's taking nuts like macadamia nuts and she's put it in with a graham cracker. So there's a whole level of everything. And every time you have to do this 5-minute egg and it's like a 25-30-minute thing. So there's lots of love put in it. And it is definitely one of the best tasting pies I've ever had.
The patience she has is...
I mean, she's with me, bro. She has to have some patience.
I wasn't going to say it, but correct.
It's allowed. She knows. She just loves hearing, I got an idea.
Great.
Sorry,
let's hear it.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, goodness. Poor girl.
Well, Jennifer, I just love you.
I love you back.
3001, actually.
Yeah.
If we want to follow along with your stories, we want to keep up with everything you're doing, how can we do that?
Instagram's always the best place to get me. That's at Jennifer Edge, at Mainline Tattoo, or at Literary Inc. I'm generally the one you're talking to. Yeah. And then just, Googling me, you'll find me. Josh, literally, you're one of my favorite people. Not just getting to talk to you today on this, but we've had so many meaningful conversations and there's been so much of what life is and what life's about. And, there's a couple times when we've talked and it's like, why do we always end up talking like this? And I think it's just because we're destined to know each other.
I agree 100%. You have created a place for me that I didn't know I needed, but when I found it, I knew I could never leave. So thank you.
Back at you, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing your stories.
3001. Yeah. It's nice been meeting all of you, all you folks. That's all, folks.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Look at that.